Good evening. Welcome to the Celtic Way's live transfer deadline day show. I'm Tony Haggerty at Haggerty10 on the Twitter or X handle, whatever it's called this week, and I'm joined by Joe Donnelly. Try that again, isn't it? Joe Donnelly at Deco2000 on the X and Twitter handle. How you doing, Joe? Some shift for you today. I believe you were in early this morning as well.
Yeah. Started at 7 this morning, kind of on the news shift, and then, like we were saying off air, clocked off around 3. Went and get the kids from school, but then you know yourself. I'm like every football fan in the world today. You're checking your phone, you're checking in with friends, you're checking in with colleagues, and keeping an eye on things and all the speculation and shouts and murmurs and whispers that go with it. So it's been a week of talk, some action, and I remember when we started having these conversations at the transfer window when I was coming on the Celtic Way morning briefing and saying there's plenty of time. All of a sudden, there's only a few hours. Well, there's only 2 hours to go, and we're still getting deals over the line. So exciting! I'm glad to be here.
Delighted to have your company, and those numbers are shooting up as we speak. Over 300 guys. Welcome to the programme. Get your thoughts and your comments in the comment section. Myself and Joe, we've got 2 hours to kill, guys. So yes, we'll read a few of them out, no doubt, indeed. But let me know what your thoughts on the transfer window are at this moment in time, and what you're hoping for, maybe as a surprise package in the last couple of hours. Countdown's on now. 11 o'clock deadline tonight. Joe will be here till 11, and then we'll go lie down in a darkened room and sleep for many hours, methinks. Or as many hours as your kids allow you to, or as my dog will you to. And right on cue, there's one of the dogs barking. But can't guarantee that the dogs won't bark because the foxes are out, and you know what it's like. But hey, it all adds to the drama and excitement of deadline day. As you can see, in homage to a broadcaster, famously, I don't wear ties, but a wee bit of yellow, Joe, on the old shirt there. And it's a do not adjust your set number. It's only temporary interference. But now, we'll do a recap, Joe, of the transfer window so far, and we'll do the ins first and foremost. So the first ones to come in were Kasper Schmeichel on a free and Viljami Sinizalo for £1 million. 2 goalkeepers. There was some kind of coordinated thought there. We felt that they were joining the dots and some succession planning there to replace Joe Hart, and then the long protracted affair that was Adam Ida's signature. Celtic eventually got the chequebook out and wrote out check. I'm old money, Joe, you know what I mean? But they parted with $8.5 million, rising to $9.5 for Adam Ida, Norwich City striker.
And it was never in doubt, Tony. You were 100% behind that. You were so sure of that one. I started off very sure, and then the longer it went on, I started to lose my confidence a little bit. But no, he was a good one to get over the line, I think, Adam Ida, wasn't he? I've seen some, I think, premature criticism of the way he's come into the team just now. I think that he just needs to get that duck off his back. That seems to be the kind of the more rational criticism of Adam Ida since he's come back in, is that he's maybe trying a little bit too hard, and I get that. I think it kind of at times looks like things aren't really falling for him, or he's maybe making half a second too slow here and there, or maybe making the wrong manoeuvre. But I think that's probably down to match fitness, isn't it? I said this a million times before. I'm so pleased that he came back to the club, knowing that he can handle the pressure at Celtic, knowing that he's got a lot to offer this season, especially as we enter these high pressure games. Sorry, I totally interrupted your rhythm there. I just wanted to praise Adam Ida for a second.
We've got 2 hours, Joe. It's all about any pregnant pauses at all, or awkward silences. And then we brought in Alex Vallier from Barcelona, a left back. Celtic fans been crying out for a left back. Paid $1.3 million season-long loan for Alex Vallier. He's going to see how he likes it, and we're going to see how he likes him. He's picked up the lingo already. Come on, you boys in green. I think he was saying something like that in his wee video clip or something. Come on, the boys, wasn't he? So it'll be interesting to see. He's from the La Masia Academy, isn't he? So it'll be interesting to see how he fares. Played for Levante and Segunda B, hasn't he? So got some first team experience. But yeah, looking forward to seeing him. He'll obviously be in there with Greg Taylor vying for that sort of a competition in that left back role.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that for a number of fans, I know that I said this on the pod, and to anyone that was willing to listen, I think that once we had Adamida back in the door, once we had Paulo Bernardo back in the door, we already had Kasper Schmeichel. We had a backup goalkeeper as well coming in. The two positions which I really wanted to get filled were our options to bring in on left side of defence and left centre back, which I'm sure you're about to talk about just now. And something in the vicinity of a midfielder if we lost Matt O'Reilly. We, of course, have lost Matt O'Reilly, and not long before we came on here, we brought in a left-sided centre-back, didn't we?
We did indeed. Austin Trusty. And for those who were sharp, they were saying things about the music that was used to introduce him in the video, Joe. I believe it was Stone Cold Austin, Steve Stone Cold Austin from WWE. Would that be right? Would I be right in saying
that? Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I, for anyone who doesn't know, I used to work in the Celtic media team a number of years ago. And I know the boys who work tirelessly on the social media side. And I know that they're quite big on WWE, so I know that they would have been absolutely loving the speculation, absolutely loving the signing. And then when you see the video in hindsight, I think it's really good, and it taps into certainly. I mean, that was the Attitude Era of the WWF as it was known then at the turn of the millennium. When I was in my early teens, so that it definitely speaks to my generation. And I loved it, and I thought it was a really imaginative way to introduce him.
I know
and I'm looking forward to seeing him on the pitch.
Yeah, I know someone else who would have picked up in that reference, young Ryan McGinley. And for those of you wondering where at the Ryan McGinley is to give him his official title and handle, he's a way to see Blink 182, Joe. There are no words to be.
I know. I can't, but I thought it was a typo. He put 182 and I thought he was trying to do 1888. I didn't understand
it. No comment, I think, my
Listen, I actually really like Blink 182. I'm a going to get into music in the mid-90s, Britpop, massive Oasis fan. I'm going to try and get tickets tomorrow. But Blink 182 were one of those bands that kind of straddled all camps. People that were into their kind of rock and roll music or I like Mosher music. It would have been when I was at school, and even people that liked kind of the guitar music, the indie stuff. It was a kind of Blink 182 or one of those bands. Certainly, my experience that were down the middle. So, I'm jealous to miss a concert, but equally, I wouldn't be anywhere else but here, Tony.
Correct, Mundo. That's exactly what we like to hear. Never mind the Oasis reunion. We're here, and we'll be here till 11 o'clock. Loving it, Joe. But yes, Ryan is away. I don't know if he's mosh pitting or jumping around or pogoing to Blink 182. I don't know if pogoing is a thing of the past, but you're all dark at pogo with the best of them here, still can. Last pogoed at Sultans of Ping in Dublin. It was fantastic, but there you go, back in March. And now, Joe, we wait for trumpets and all that for Arne Enkels, who, to all intents and purposes, has passed a medical, and he will be Celtic's record transfer signing at £11 million. The man that Brendan Rodgers wanted, they pushed the boat out for him. He was very reluctant to say things today because they weren't officially over the line, but we believe that Arne Enkels will be announced at some point this evening. We've got the phones on, red alert for that, and Celtic will be announcing that at some point this evening. Joe, yeah, we believe that to be happening.
Yeah. It seems all but certain at this point, doesn't it? I think with Arne Enkels, like every Celtic supporter over the last at least the last several days since the link started kind of taking shape and looking a bit more than just kind of social media chatter, watching as much as I can, reading as much as I can. And like anything, you watch some of these reels, you read any kind of experts that have worked with them. It's the proof's in the pudding. You want to see this player out on the pitch. I think one of I'm not saying anything kind of revolutionary by saying this, but I think Enkels to me means more than just the player. Without trying to get overly profound about it, the manager is clearly, Brendan Rodgers has clearly been wanting to be backed, to be invested. If Matt O'Reilly was to go, he wanted a not a proper replacement. He wanted something with substance. He wanted a player that had potential to improve, but also could hit the ground running, and he wanted to spend. So I think that Arne Engels, to me, I hope that he's a brilliant player on the pitch, but off of it, he represents so much of this transfer window, assuming that it gets over the line in the next hour and 50 minutes. And when you say it like that, it doesn't sound like an awful long time, doesn't it? But I think it backs up what the manager's been not so subtly asking for in the last kind of run of press conferences. Yes. And that quality, not quantity. And it's exciting, assuming that there's no tragic mishaps in the next little stretch. As you say, he seems to have passed his medical. He was down in London this morning, we understand, by kind of late afternoon, early evening, he'd passed his medical and was travelling up. So we kind of hope that they're just crossing the T's and dotting the I's at the moment, and we can get I'm checking my phone every 2 seconds it goes off and seeing if there's anything happening in the group chat or Twitter or emails, but nothing yet. So yeah, we're hoping we're on the final straight here.
Indeed, guys, and if you see us looking down, that's exactly what we're doing. We're trying to look at our phones as well, because we'll be getting notifications. You guys will be doing the same things. And somebody in the comments was asking, where's Hamish? I believe he'll be joining us at 10 o'clock. The three of us will talk more nonsense for the last hour, but if that's possible. But yeah, so that's the state of play with the ins at the minute, and there could be another one rumoured that it's going to be Luke McCowan. Lots of people in the group chat are saying they would prefer Lennon Miller. It's all subjective, isn't it, Joe? But there's been talk about Luke McCowan from Dundee bubbling away. I think Hibernian have been knocked back in their latest bid, tried 800,000 a couple of hours ago. I think that was knocked back. I think Dundee are holding out for $1 million or more. He has a year left in his contract. We shall see what transpires, but that's again, that's what we're reading and what we're hearing. And up until we came on here, I don't think Celtic had made an official bid for Luke McCowan. Obviously, that's subject to change, possible in the next couple of hours, or what's less than a couple of hours, an hour and 45 minutes, Joe. So we shall see. But on the way out, obviously, Matt O'Reilly sold for 30 million. We wish him well in his recovery and his rehabilitation. Absolute shocking challenge. Don't particularly want to dwell on that, but he gave us some wonderful service, Matt O'Reilly, and wish him a speedy recovery, and we wish him well. Mikey Johnson gone to West Brom, Joe. Finally clinched a deal to go to West Brom permanently. I think most people, the parting of the ways was inevitable this time for Mikey Johnson.
Yeah, I really wish Mikey all the best. Again, when I worked at the club, I had the opportunity to see Mikey a bit more than most. I interviewed him a lot at the times when he was a bit younger and kind of in the team scoring some goals and be back out the team with injury and just, again, not saying anything new. He was one of those players that promised the world for a long time. I know that Damien Duff, when he was at the club, was a massive fan of Mikey Johnson. In the last stretch, it's maybe not went his way. He struggled to find form, to seize his opportunity when given the chance. And I think one of the things that sometimes we're guilty, that Celtic are guilty of is, but not guilty of, it's not the right way to phrase it, but players maybe don't get that long on the pitch to prove themselves. It's maybe only a few games, but that is what they need to do. Mikey Johnson did get more than most. And the reality is it just, it wasn't a right fit anymore for Celtic and the player. For him to, there was a lot of talk of him going to Sheffield United. There was rumours of Austin Trusty rather, and it being a swap, and then it was maybe not a swap, but the clubs could have been talking, was the kind of insinuation. Then when West Brom appeared, to be interested as well, I just thought for the player it seems like a great fit. He's given us some decent times, contributed to some successes at Celtic. He seems adored down there, and for him to get that chance to leave Celtic, we wish him well, and he seems to be happy to be going there. So no, I think part of the ways is the best way to put it, and I'm delighted that he seems to have found somewhere that he can advance the next stage of his career.
Friday night, 9 o'clock, Joe. Where would you rather be? There's over 1,300 people joining us. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. We'll try and keep you entertained and up to speed with what's going on. If we do neither nor, we'll apologise now. We'll get there. Eric's kisses in early doors, as they say, Joe. But everybody, pleasure to have your company. It's absolute. Tony, you're too loud, especially to start your sentence. the deco audio is perfect. Somebody's telling me in the group chat. There you go. I'm just loud and demonstrative. Anyway, so.
Passionate. I think passionate is the
yeah, I think so, Joe. Yes, indeed. There you go. Gustav Lagerbielke, 20 Enschede season-long loan, Joe. Just the manager had made up his mind very early about him, didn't he? That he wasn't going to cut the mustard, as they say. So I think that's just kind of a mutual agreement that he goes out there and gets some football and see what happens after that.
Yeah, he still feels like a little bit of a kind of unproven entity as well, doesn't he? Like when he's come into the team, I don't think he's massively impressed. I don't think that's unfair to say that. You know, my mind always goes back to that first Rangers game last year at Ibrox, where the goal that you'll have to remind me who scored it. I can't remember now. The one that was chopped off for Rangers. Kamar Roof, exactly. It was Kamar Roof. But it's Gustav Lagerbielke given a chance in the starting 11 when the manager is still Brendan Rodgers just come back into the team. He's sussing out what's there and trying to work out his best 11, I would say, in that early stage. And it's him that's dispossessed now. Okay, it gets given a foul. I'm still to this day not sure that it definitely was, but I wonder if the manager will have made an informed decision, training and kind of broader picture. But in that moment, if ever you were trying to impress and playing into not to play the occasion, just to play your normal game, it wasn't the best of starts, was it? And for me, again, this might be unfair as a critic, but it kind of set the tone a little bit that is crude as this may sound, those games are kind of make or break for some players, aren't they? You look at Alistair Johnson, the way he just took to it like a duck to water, and that one moment, okay, quite cruel to judge him on that, but it felt like, I don't know. Maybe I'm making a snap judgment.
No, I remember seeing at the time, I thought Lagerbielke's card was marked by Rodgers after that because he made a point of mentioning he'll never do that again.
Yeah.
In his post-match
at
Ibrox, and I thought he doesn't fancy him. And somehow Liam Scales and Gustav Lagerbielke muddled through that game. People say it was a defensive masterclass. It wasn't a defensive masterclass, a managerial masterclass by somehow getting those two guys to repel everything that Rangers could throw at them that day, by hook or by crook, a bit of luck. But I thought that Gustav Lagerbielke, I thought that foul was, you could argue that, and Rangers quite rightly argued that it was given.
I mean, as cliche as it is, I mean, if that happens at the other end, how are you going to feel then? Don't get me wrong, I'm delighted that it happened and that game unfolded the way it did. It was a real, looking back, it was a real pivotal game in the season, I think.
But
at the time, I was like, I think we got off with one then,
But it was after that he also, let me say, threw them under the bus per se, but he mentioned that Gustav Lagerbielke and Mike Nawrocki had to do more to get in the team, didn't he? At some point during the season too. So he always felt that I say before, he does signpost it, Brendan Rodgers. Sometimes he's cryptic, but other times he just says bang, the same way he did in pre-season there when he spoke about Thiago Holm and Bosun Lawal, who is one of the players who left on a permanent deal to Stoke City, and everybody thought this would be his breakout season after. And I found this a bit strange. People saying he starred for Fleetwood and he was their player of the year in a team that got relegated. So I was kind of like trying to weigh that. I'm pretty, as my father used to say, sometimes you can pour 4 gallon in a 2 gallon head. You know what I mean? And I couldn't get my head around that this guy starred for Fleetwood who got relegated. And again, the manager said, great quote from the manager, talent's not enough.
Yep.
You get talent and you can play for most football teams, but you won't play my team. And he spelled it right out, and he said it and he aimed at that at Odin Thiago Holm and Bosun Lawal. One of them took it on board. So, and the other has been shipped off to Stoke. And then the other one is Kwon, who's at Hibs in a season-long loan. So I think between getting rid of some of the, I don't like the word deadwood, but trimming the squad, because he always said he wanted to operate with a strict number in the squad, but make it a good squad, of starters and being ready to start whenever they're called upon, even the ones that are not playing. So I think he's managed to get rid of a lot of guys that you would have said probably weren't going to feature there, Joe.
Yeah, and I think that's right.
Time. So I said I trusted him implicitly, and he's brought players in that he wanted. So people will argue the toss about this being a great window or not, but I think it's been a very good window for Celtic.
Assuming we get the big one over the line, like we said at the top of the programme. I mean, it felt for a long time that it might not have been, but if we trim the squad down, and I say this all the time, I'm a firm believer in strength and depth is something that we associate with Celtic. It's synonymous. Every single manager that comes through the door talks about strength and depth, but there's an obvious difference between strength and depth and just having too many players. It needs to be a strong squad, and Brendan Rodgers is certainly front and centre and really pushing that over the course of this window. I think it's been a really strange week, and I wonder if sometimes we're a little bit too close to it because we're reporting on everything as it comes. But I've been so caught up in the last few days of speculation and trying to sift between what's rumour and what's truth and what's got something leads worth following. We obviously had the Champions League draw yesterday as well. We're in the middle of deadline day, and then all of a sudden, you never forget, but part of you goes, my goodness, there's a Glasgow derby on Sunday. So it's been, I don't know when the dust settles on this particular window, just because it feels like a busier window for a long time, and yet we've maybe not had that much business, but it's maybe because all of it, or not all of it, but there's been a real flurry of activity in the last few days, and obviously today we've already seen players leave, we've seen players come in, and we're hoping for more, and we're an hour and a half away from that deadline. So it'll be interesting how people react to the window overall. It'll be interesting to see how people react to how much funds were released against what came in terms of the money made. And dare I say, it'll be interesting to see how people reflect on the board, and people like Peter Lawwell, who was taking a lot of stick last week from fans outside outside the stadium. And I'm not calling for an opinion either way. I just think that if the incomings hadn't come in today, if Trusty hadn't come in and Engels hadn't come in, I know he's not here yet officially, but assuming that happens, then it would have set a real sour tone, I think, for the weekend. You said this the other day on the pod. If assuming Engels comes in, we've got Trusty, we've got Vine, we've got the players who've come in already, and the money appears to be there again. Engels looking like he's going to be the record signing for the club. We're going to Sunday with real buoyancy, and how will we reflect then? Do you know? I suppose it depends on how the game goes on Sunday, and then it depends on how we get on in this new format Champions League. But certainly, assuming Engels comes in, you'll be going it next week, or you'll get it the weekend, and then there on into the international break where he'll spring in your step.
Correct. 1,500 people, John. It's rising all the time. Thanks, guys, for your company, and also a Friday night, but really, really do appreciate it. And just running along the bottom in a ticker tape style, as you won't on transfer deadline day, you can help support our work by joining the YouTube members channel. It costs you £2.99 a month, and you receive early video access, priority comments, and you'll be allowed to enter the exclusive members chat function. That's £2.99. It's on the YouTube members channel. Just hit join on that on your devices. So thank you for that, and thank you for those who have taken up that. It's excellent. But we await to see Engels being paraded, Joe, by Celtic. We await to see mystery midfielder that they're possibly chasing. See if they can get another deal over the line. Time is marching on. That's coming up to 90 minutes, more or less, 95 minutes left to do some business. But I'll take some comments, Joe, because there are lots of them coming in. So we'll just go through a few of them. Barry Smith, thank you. He's a new member to the YouTube. Thanks very much, Barry. Appreciate that. There's your name check because it's in green and you paid the $2.99. So thank you for that, Barry. Really, really appreciate it. We always do. As McGowan Agoa says, Mikey C. McGowan, sorry. We shall wait to see by the end of this. We'll find out. my knowledge earlier was that Celtic hadn't made a bid, and Hibs had made a bid of 800,000, which had been knocked back. Still waiting on Celtic coming in for Luke McCowan, and people are saying that Celtic are still interested, so we shall wait on that in conclusion of that. Yeah, that's me.
I mean, watch me stand corrected here, because we're here until the window closes. But McCowan feels like a 10 to 11, 5 to 11 announcement, doesn't it?
What do you want for him? We'll take
the thing
him.
Is,
quarter to 11 job, isn't it?
Yeah. You've had me on the morning briefing lots where you can say things, and I believe everything that I say, but you can be proven wrong, and then I'm not back on for a week, and hopefully people have forgotten about it. We're here until 11, so I will be proven wrong if he signs in the next 10 minutes. It feels like if that deal's going to happen, it'll be one that, as you say, Hibs have made that 800,000. We understand it's been knocked back. It's in Celtic's court, really, then, isn't it? If they go $1 million plus, I'm not sure exactly what Dundee are holding out for, but if they're knocking back 800,000, but they're still entertaining bids, I don't see them knocking back $1 million plus.
I think they're wanting $1 million plus. The million's a ballpark. Hercules saying he's agreeing that Iwata over McCowan any day. Lots of Celtic fans pretty annoyed that Tomoki Iwata could be going to Birmingham. Charlie Lacey saying when his ankle's being announced, then stay here, Charlie. We'll be the first to tell you when it does happen.
I reckon it'll be announced either way in the next hour and a half, Tony.
Yes, indeed. Irish Silk 77 saying, going off Brendan Rodgers' press conference today, there's something going on in the background. In his opinion, I think he's talking about with another midfielder coming in. Thomas Burns, famous name. Enkel's called up to the Belgium squad, already worth more than we paid for him. I was making that point. I think it's this morning or certainly the other day. Jonathan Brown saying, be happy with Enkles and McCowan. Do you think there'll be one more surprise? Well, we've got 90 minutes to find that out, Jonathan. That's why we're here. Roll on Sunday, says Chris. Yep. I've written a piece that's appearing, I think, maybe tomorrow. And I've sort of just on the back of what you were saying, it seems like it's been the least hyped Celtic Rangers derby ever in the history of the fixture, because there's been so much going on. Last few days of the transfer window, the Champions League draw, and then all of a sudden, by the way, there's a game of association football taking place on Sunday in Glasgow's East End. We'll get to that in due course. But, that kind of thing. It's very much it's been an afterthought, and that's kind of thrust in a piece that will appear tomorrow on the back of Brendan Rodgers' presser today. Col McKem saying, love to see Celtic go for Lennon Miller and loan him back to Motherwell for a season. Lots of people saying that.
Yeah.
Well, but certainly I think Celtic, they'll be all over that and keeping tabs on whatever's happening with them, because they have to be. It's due diligence for future Champions League squads for the homegrown quota and all that. Big Dom, the squad looks thin to me. Big Dom, a regular contributor. He's usually a bit more positive than that, but Big Dom's not having it. He's saying squad looked thin to him. Jonathan Brown come back in. Trusty signing for $6 million. Surely makes him a first choice centre back. Could find that out come the weekend. Jonathan and Joe saying Iwata's a cracking player. He just needs games. He'd be gutted if he leaves. And Big Dom coming back in. English League One is Iwata's level, he's saying. So there you go. And Welsh Paul, bigging up your old dad, saying Tony said everything was going to be okay with the transfers. Tony the Oracle. I don't know about that, but it was just... I listened to the manager, Welsh Paul. We did tell people that they would get players in, and I felt that I just kind of... You know what I'm like? Mood music, connecting dots, joining lines, and that's proven to be the case. If it's enough for some supporters, it might not be enough, but that they're entitled to their view. Craig B coming in. Engels, announce it! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark.
I thought with the capitals there, Craig B was a bit ITK more than us. I was looking at my phone and checking for the updates. And
Jonathan Brown saying is Hamish still in his bed. Don't know what Hamish is, but we'll find out in half an hour where he's been and what he's been up to. Yeah. Hopefully,
what's the time difference? He's Melbourne, isn't he?
12 hours, I think. Something like 12 hours, yeah. Why is it taking so long to announce Engels? Christopher, it's not your first rodeo. It's Celtic. It's what they do. Scotland the Brave coming in and saying, will they leave Engels till 11 p.m? And that'll be the last piece of business. Hope not. He still wants McCowan. Lots of Celtics still want McCowan as well. Joe Hamilton saying Engels is a top player. We'll do the 4-eye test when we see him, Joe. You know what I mean? I've got double your eyes, so you know what I mean? So there you go. In a self-deprecating way. Most of them are like Mr. Magoo, as people tell me, so there you have it. But we shall see. We should have signed Lennon Miller, and just loading it back to Motherwell says Curly's LBBS. You're not the first one to think that or say that. And Mikey C changed days from Yusuf Malumbo.
Wow, that's a name I've not heard for a long time.
Exactly. And CJ7 saying he wanted Duarte to stay. Not away yet. And Fasty T, I hope I'm not too loud now, Fasty T. Great signing so far, he said. Excellent. And Scotland will break back in saying, I reckon Engels will be announced about 10. Then we'll wait for the last hour on another player and nothing will happen. Calling it now, could be wrong. Yeah, there you go. Me and Joe
stay with us, you'll definitely find out.
Big Dom back in. No point sugarcoating it. The window's been poor and minimal signings have arrived. That they should have come 2 years ago. Okay, Big Dom, you're normally a bit more positive than that, fella. But listen, we're a broad church here. We let people speak their mind and say their piece, and no judgment. There's no right or wrong. It's everybody's opinion. And Manchester Bogan, another regular contributor, saying it's been the bare minimum window. Lots of people feeling like that. And then SDH saying Trusty was relegated and Celtic have signed him. Surely we could have got better for the money. Again, I know people read and judge players. I'm always an eye test, Joe. I always wait to see a player appearing in the hoops and then start forming judgments. I talk about idiosyncrasies, I talk about behaviours, I talk about, a player when you see one, somebody can pull a ball down, do basic stuff, and then you start to form a real opinion. And, lots of clubs who come straight up from the Championship go straight back down in England. It's a very forgiving environment, that English Premier League. Some clubs don't last long, some can hold on, and then it's a difficult second album in the second season that they're in the top flight. So, I will reserve judgment on Austin Trusty till I see him playing for the club, and I'll start making informed judgments when I see the evidence in front of my eyes.
I think. Again, it's one of those ones. I understand that opinion. I understand that.
Yeah.
There's a level of. I think probably against transfer windows of the past where. Perhaps the fans don't feel like we've pushed the boat out enough at this moment in time, and maybe I'm looking through the green lens or whatever it is. But I'm the same as you. I want to reserve judgment until I see them. Yeah. I also want to be safe in the knowledge that the due diligence has been done. That we've the people looking at these players have looked at them thoroughly, and obviously the manager's happy as well. I think obviously not stating the obvious, when you're playing in that centre back role for Celtic. When things are going well, you can look like a superstar. When things aren't, i.e. against some top opposition in the Champions League, it becomes more obvious that you're not up to it. Goalkeeper, central defenders, and your fullbacks as well. Again, I hope that the manager's got it right. I suppose for every success story of Carter Vickers, there is a Nat Phillips or a John Joe Kenny or a Shane Duffy. Players who have maybe performed elsewhere, but it's just not worked at Celtic.
I was going to go all Celtic Daniel and say and a Martin Hayes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's going slightly before my time. But who knows? I don't want to get too negative. I suppose I don't want to get too negative about it.
Yeah, of course.
I want to reserve judgment. I like the idea of, and I've said this several times when you've had me on the morning briefing before, that I like the idea of the competition for places. Yeah. So Liam Scales, love him or loathe him, he's come in, he's did very well last season, played a lot of games. He started the season really well. Is he the standard for Champions League? Different conversation. If he's challenging for first place and he's got someone breathing down his neck, you would assume, like one of the comments said earlier, that the Trusty coming in at $6 million is going to be maybe not immediately first choice, but in Brendan Rodgers' plans, you would assume that he's wanting to bring in these players to become first team players. But either way, as long as it inspires competition and pushes the team, then I'm certainly happy. I think one of the interesting things that you're seeing people saying, and again, a comment earlier about it being the bare minimum. The minimum still implies that it's just enough. So I'd be interested to see what people think if we get Engels over the line, even if it's the bare minimum. Is that still satisfactory? Like, you might not be delighted, but is that still good enough for now? Is that us settling if we admit that? Do you know, it's an interesting way to look at it.
Better than it was on Monday, Joe.
No, that's it. But then should it be much better? Should we have signed a lot more players before now? Do you know?
Yeah, of course. And So Jonathan Brown will only be happy when Engels is confirmed. And Manchester Bogan coming in saying Celtic have lost their best player. And he's clearly talking about Matt O'Reilly. And Don Quadrado saying surely Engels have got a big billing and more fans excited. It's wait and see. I like the sound of the new left back too, Alex Valier. Great pedigree. So yeah, I mean, again, these are all valid opinions and we're taking them on board. And the comments are coming in thick and fast. 1,922 people joining us. Absolutely sensational numbers there, guys. Thanks very much. You know, you've got a choice of you and others, but thank you for joining us on Friday night. Really appreciate it. Anthony Beattie saying no official bid for McCowan. No, there's not been to our knowledge, but that may well change. Big Dom, think fans have been hoodwinked into thinking the board have done well. Dom's not a happy man. Here's hoping that Celtic can put a smile on your face, Dom, on Sunday. And Matt Fairfield saying typical Celtic last-minute shopping spree. Reminds me of Christmas Eve at the Barras. Love that reference, Mark. Fantastic. The Barras market down in Glasgow. Gallagate area down that way. Excellent stuff. But lots of comments coming in. I'm trying to get through as many as we can. We're nearly reaching 2,000 people on the live stream.
How do you feel about the window, Tony? Assuming
that I feel about the window. Well,
yeah,
I think the optics on it would have looked very poor for Brendan Rodgers had Celtic not strengthened the way they have in the last week. Lots of people saying that he would have walked. I don't think he would have walked, but I think you would have heard them, and you would have heard the supporters, and you'd have been quite right to hear the supporters. I placed a lot of trust in what the manager said. Lots of people said I was being blinded by that, but I wasn't. I was listening. I was listening to the way he said it. He spoke like a man on Sunday after the St Mirren game who knew there was things bubbling away at the surface. Couldn't tell you too much, but he signposted it for you, told you, we'll be fine, we'll get the players in. So he knew that the board were going to push the boat out for ankles. They were going to bring in Trusty. So these were things that were, the machinations were in process, and the mechanics of it and the engineering, they were all in place to set up. So I felt that was really important, because I felt if the board didn't back him this time, then he would have had something to say, because he banged on about quality from the moment Adam Idah scored the goal in the cup final. They needed quality players. Adam Idah was a quality player. They wanted him. He got him. They needed a left back. I'd have preferred one on a permanent deal, but we've got this try before you buy, and we'll see. Maybe Alex Valier will like it, fall in love with the club, like Jota did, like Cameron Carter-Vickers did, and then you might pay that $2.5 million release clause for him if you feel that he's worth it. We've paid $1.3 million for the loan deal. I think it's a $2.5 million release clause because he signed a contract with Barcelona. So we shall see what happens. But I'm quite willing to look at him as someone in the comments said he certainly looks as if he's coming from a good pedigree, that La Masia. So we shall see. We'll judge him again. And I'm happy with Engels. Just waiting for that to be announced. I think that's the one he really wanted. Well, two he really wanted. He wanted Adam Idah, he wanted Arne Engels. So,
yeah.
And he's also got a left centre-back, a left-sided centre-back, which the Celtic fans were crying out for as well, because we needed that to go into the Champions League to be competitive, not just participate. So I'm happy enough. Could we have done more? Yeah, we probably could. But I'm certainly better than I felt on Monday, staring down a barrel of this week. But again, as I say, I just listened to the manager and I trusted him. He kept saying, we'll be stronger. And if the manager thinks Celtic are stronger and he can work his magic with these players and make them better and make the players that are currently there better as well, then we have to say that we're stronger. I know we lost Matt O'Reilly. I know we lost 37 goal contributions. But if the manager's turning around and saying he's really, really happy with the squad that he's got, the players that he has, I suppose, and then bringing in these new guys will make the team stronger, then I'm happy enough with that. Then you have to believe him.
I think so.
There's no evidence to the contrary, is there, at this minute in time? And then again, if there are deficiencies and it turns out not to be the right players, they'll go again in January because he will ask again.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the Matt O'Reilly thing is, again, we've said this on air, we've said it off air, like, if ever a player had earned the right to choose what he does next, it was Matt O'Reilly, isn't it? He's handled himself with decorum, with humility. From what the manager said publicly, they had lots of conversations when there was interest from Atletico and Inter on loan deals, whatever it was back in January, and he stayed put. And I think it's great. He clearly wanted to leave, otherwise he wouldn't have left. That's the thing. Yes. And it was good that Celtic were able to make, a real handsome return. I don't subscribe, and I know you've said this before as well, Tony, I don't subscribe to the idea that Odsonne Edouard, for example, downed tools in that last season, but I do think that it's not unreasonable that, because there was murmurings of did Odsonne Edouard and Chris Ayer want to move at that point, and Celtic were obviously pushing for a really historic season, which, the less said about that, the better. It didn't turn out as we'd all hoped. Those players still performed, and it was obviously a lot of mitigating circumstances, COVID, there was no fans, etc. But if players want to go, I'm always a believer that they should go, and we have, again, assuming that Engels is a matter of if not when, in the next hour and 19 minutes. Oh, no, how's my maths? Then we've pushed the boat out. We've signed a record signing, a young player who comes with a high billing, like someone said earlier on. He's made it into the Belgian side. So we really don't know that much about how he'll handle Scottish football, how he'll perform in the Champions League with Celtic, how he'll take to Scotland, all these variables that come into place. But we have to take that leap of faith, it's not like Celtic have sold Matt O'Reilly and then are looking for a bargain player to come in and replace him. We've got everything that we would be looking at: a young player with potential to grow, who can hit the ground running, who's our top, most expensive player, who, again, if the model goes, the transfer model goes right, we'll sell him in a few years' time, assuming he wants to go, or if he wants to stay, brilliant, but if he wants to go, then you can make a return then as well. So I think that, again, assuming that happens, then it's everything that we could have hoped for in that one signing. Over the course, I think like I said a few times, goalkeeper, centre forward, and that was Adamida, a replacement for Matt O'Reilly, cover at left back and left centre back. We probably could have reinforced on the left wing, probably, given we've got a few players on that right side. But we have capable players on the left as well. But I think over the course, I'm happy.
Most importantly for me, the managers got what he wanted.
Yeah.
Well, they've not left them in the lurch. He wanted Ida, he got him. He wanted Engels, he got him. He wanted Trusty, he got him. Granted, they left it late, and that probably doesn't sit well with him. He wants to be more organised than that. But I think Brendan Rodgers' paw prints are all over this transfer window. These are his players. These are the ones that he wanted. These are the ones that he's identified. I know he's given kudos to say there's a recruitment team, and then they send the list to him. He okays it, and then they send it to the board to say, can we get these deals over the line? But I think he's been very hands-on with this, because he's looking not just domestically, but he's looking to Europe, and he's thinking, okay, where can we improve this team and go in there? And he's mentioned it a few times. Now, he said it again today about competing in the Champions League and not participating. And also that draw would have given him food for thought in terms of, we can go in here and be ferociously competitive. So maybe that's why he probably did. Big Dom saying, Tony's right, Brendan's now building his team towards a more athletic, stronger outfit, but that's what I think. He probably did want more players, but every manager tells you, every manager you ask them, they're always a couple of players away from being, the perfect team or what they want. So that's why they keep striving and always say, well, no, the finished article. We'll never be the finished article per se. No. But they all say, we could do with a couple of more players in certain positions. That's always their buzzwords. But if you listen to the manager, he said the guys that he's had before signing all these players in the window, he's been really happy with. The way they've adapted their game, the way the pressing, he was talking about the pressing again today, Joe. Yeah. And the way they can make up their minds on the park and not look to him for guidance. It's starting to sink in what he's teaching them. And you can tell it started in pre-season and everybody was like, it's just pre-season. But again, I go back to that. That's the way you want your team to play. Yep. And And he said to me after Queen's Park, Celtic don't play pre-season friendlies. So I was interested to see how they would cope against the likes of Chelsea and Manchester City, because you're playing a better calibre of player. But it's been drummed into them all summer. This is how we're going to play. Yep. And you liked it. You liked what Kuhn brought. You're liking what Kuhn's brought. 6 goal contributions in 4 games so far. And the biggest irony for me is there's goals in that team, Joe, and our strikers have yet to get off the mark. Both of them. Yep. Right? So, I can't wait till the strikers get off the mark and start getting regularity. And you've got 2 of them who are pretty good at it. You mentioned Adam earlier about trying too hard, and I firmly believe that. But Kyogo in the games that he's played and started, he's contributed largely to really good performances. The only thing missing is his goal.
Yeah.
So,
and Celtic hardly been struggling. Like it's one of the things that Cal McGregor said a few times in his pre and post match conferences. I know you've been present to a lot of those, Tony. Is that there's a slickness about the team? It's a word he keeps getting back to more than most, and it's there's a million words you could use to describe Celtic at the moment. Intense is one which the manager's always used in his first and his current spell as Celtic manager, but slickness, it does feel that there's a real slickness to the way that Celtic are playing just now. It's a real joy to watch, and I think you could probably, for me personally, pinpoint the Kilmarnock game last year that won us the league at Rugby Park. From that game forward, from that game forward, that slickness which the captain talks about feels like it's been there. And of course, the knock-on effect is that unity that you feel in the stadium in Celtic Park between the fans and the players and the manager. And we've said this on and off air about, even the people that might have resented the manager, resented Brendan Rodgers coming back in, and still a little bit upset about the manner in which he left the last time. It feels like the majority of people are over that now. They're seeing that Brendan Rodgers is back. He's wanting to do well for Celtic. He's wanting to be backed himself. And it's it feels like singing from the same hymn sheet. It feels like a really unified time at Celtic between all the kind of moving parts, which is this early point in the season, as you say, without the strikers having got off the mark yet. We've got a new Champions League format that now spills into January. If Celtic do well in the opening stages, and the players that the manager's brought in are starting to prove themselves, you would have to assume that he's going to the board, the manager, in January and saying, if Celtic are still in it at that point, fighting for that playoff place, that there is still time to reinforce to continue that European journey. Who knows? It's all ahead of us. Yeah,
let's take it further. Correct. You talk about that and that harmony that you've brought. I wrote the other day that he's kind of unified a lot of, the factions within Celtic. You mentioned him there. He's managed to do that by words and deeds, and he never forgets that he's the biggest representative of the fans as a Celtic manager. And he said himself, he wants to put the best team on the park for every Celtic supporter. And he's done that. And I mentioned this morning, I don't think for a minute that he hasn't gone to Dermot Desmond throughout this process and said, look, in order to do what we want to do and achieve at that elite level of club football, I need this, and this. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't surprise me. Thank you, Alexander Beagray. Appreciate that. A new YouTube member, Joe. You can see that flashing along your screens, guys, at the bottom of this there. If you can help support our work more by joining the YouTube members channel for just $2.99 per month, and you'll receive early video access, and you'll get priority in the comments, and you'll be able to access the exclusive members chat function. So thank you, Alexander, for doing that. Really appreciate it. Appreciate every subscriber who has subscribed to the channel, subscribed to the YouTube channel. Can't do it without you. We tell you that all the time. We don't pay lip service to you. We give you your chance to appear in the comment section. We flick them up. We speak to you, and we educate ourselves as well, because we don't want to become an echo chamber. We like to get all sorts of points of view on the channel. But thank you, everybody, for your subscriptions. It means the world to us, and we like to think that we invest a lot of time and effort into it, but we do it with our passion. Sometimes we do it too loudly, as one of the commenters said, screaming into the mic. Fasty T, I'm only having Josh. I turned the volume down, so I hope it's all right now. But I'm just naturally an excitable person, Joe.
Too quiet now. Too quiet.
Especially when we're talking about the leather belts, the fuzzy felts, the Marjorie Proops, Permany 1 from 3, if you want to. But there you go. But yes, Andy O'Donnell. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate that. Great job, guys. That's 50 minutes gone in a flash, Joe. You always think 2 hours. What do you talk about if nothing happens? But it's never a dull day talking about Celtic, ever.
Of course.
And sharing it with 2,040 people. I just listen, that's incredible numbers for a Friday night live show. So thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Danny Boy coming in and saying, not enough comments read out, Tony. I was coming to them. They're coming in. So give me a minute, Danny. We're trying to control buttons. We're trying to make sure and screen them and make sure that there's no swear words slipping in and all that kind of stuff, Danny. We're trying to. I think it's called multitasking. Isn't that right, Joe? Mert R30 saying, he's saying Engels at Paradise. He's saying, there you go. And no words on what happened with the lad Sanchez. I think Celtic have given up the ghost on that one. And Kirsten Esler's coming in. New here. Thank you, Kirsten. Appreciate that. Welcome aboard. Just throw your comments up and we'll try and read them. And Phil Foley saying Engels has arrived at Celtic Park. Maybe there's some Sky footage there. So there you have it. Myself and Joe are trying to entertain the troops as best as we can, Joe, on this Friday night, transfer deadline night, August the 30th, 11 o'clock. Counting down, Joe, an hour and 10 minutes. And maybe we'll be joined by Hamish at 10 o'clock. Who knows?
Yeah, good move for him. I think before we came on air as well, we spoke about players that are leaving Celtic, players that have come in, and hopefully the big one is still to come. And it looks like it's on the cusp of happening now. But I noticed that Jota was confirmed at Rennes, and also Odsonne Edouard, it seemed all but confirmed that he was going to Leicester. Just 2 ex-Celts that were loosely rumoured this week with returns to the club. But it's funny. It's funny how the ups and downs of the transfer window in the final week, isn't it?
I love this from Hercules. Inkles on a Corpy basket. I love that. You can't be the Celtic supporter, Schumer. It is top notch. It is the best. Love that, Hercules. Thank you. And Alistair Jack coming in. How you doing, Alistair? You all right? McCowan moving closer, says Sky. Yeah, it's been inching its way forward all day, Alistair, to be fair. Just kept hearing that no bid's been made, but they're monitoring the situation. But there you have it. Max Stapp also coming in and saying moving closer on McCowan according to Sky Live just now. So, yeah, indeed, that I think. But there you have it. Edward to Leicester says George. So, indeed, Smith looking at a transfer budget compared to Rangers makes some chuckle. Says Smith's family, yes, well. Indeed, I guess Celtic supporters will revel in that, Joe, and they will revel in Sunday having 100% of the fan base there. There's Kirsten Esler coming back in and saying her favourite player in Celtic is Kyogo. You're not alone in that, Kirsten, I would have thought with that opinion. But yeah, Joe, turning our attention to Sunday, which nobody has really spoken about. It's just a weird one for me in terms of that it is kind of been the least hyped Celtic Rangers match ever. But I think Celtic are getting in the finest of fettle, aren't they? Let's be honest. You couldn't go in better.
Yeah, it couldn't be. It's just it couldn't be better. I'm always I'm reluctant to go full, confidence ahead of these games because it's you and I have spoken about this several times that I don't really care for the laying a marker down cliche, but let's just use it here anyway because it's the easiest one. But it's whoever wins, it's laying a marker down. Celtic would definitely argue that to extend the fine form they've been on, to carry on that form from pre-season, as you mentioned, into domestic competition, to win the first Glasgow derby, and to have strengthened in the transfer window, ahead of Europe in a few weeks' time, it really sets the tone for Celtic season moving forward. But the other side of that is, of course, Rangers. There's a lot of pressure on them to get something And they've so far not managed to do it at Celtic Park. They come off the back of a 6-0 win against Ross County. I only watched the extended highlights of that game. Ross County probably not at their best, but Rangers, did well, got the job done, looked a threat at the right end of the pitch for them. And I still believe that Celtic will come out on top. I've predicted loosely, when I've been asked at various times, 2-0 to Celtic. Who knows? I think it will be closer than a lot of people think or are willing to admit. But equally, I still think that I'd be hugely disappointed that if Celtic come out and they haven't won the game, actually, because that deficit of fans is just such a big deal. And I was one of the Celtic supporters that wanted to have Rangers back in the pre-decided allocation, in the same way I want to see Celtic fans back at Ibrox whenever Rangers eventually play back there. But in the meantime, it's not the case, and therefore, with the deficit, with the form that Celtic have, with the confidence, with that harmony and unity which you spoke about earlier, I really can't see any other outcome for Celtic apart from a victory. And if I'm wrong, come full time on Sunday, so be it. Celtic then know what they need to do from then on. The gap.
They are playing, Joe, the only side conceivably capable of beating them at this moment in time. It's their rivals. But the best team usually win these games. And at this moment in time, it's a moment in time. Celtic have the best players and they're the best team in there. They have a better manager. All of those things. I know they don't equate to winning football matches, but the manager seems to have a handle on it. He's managed 16 derbies. He's won 12, drawn 3, lost 1. It's a phenomenal record. These players are serial winners. They're playing in front of their own supporters. And Celtic have been able to cope with out their supporters going to Ibrox. It's Rangers that have struggled with this whole scenario and not been able to function when their supporters aren't there. The odds are stacked very much against Rangers pulling something off, a win. But you never rule it out because it's your rivals. They're coming in on the back of a really good result against Ross County. You can argue the toss about how good Ross County are or not, but that's so they're, and they have again, you might think not so much a conceit of themselves, but they're coming on thinking, okay, time for us to make some kind of statement. It would be a hell of a statement if Rangers could come to Celtic Park, turn Celtic over. But it's not arrogance, it's not cockiness. You're just looking at both teams just now, and Celtic are in a much better shape. They're playing a much better football. They're scoring freely. They've only conceded 1 goal. Kasper Schmeichel's with 1 save to make. He'll be a busy man on Sunday, no doubt about that. That's a given. But if Celtic click at all, then it could be another one of those long afternoons for Rangers. And you're not saying that way, as I say, with arrogance. You're just basing it on what you've been witnessing so far this season. Macca McLeavy coming in, loving the show, long-time subscriber. It's keeping his nerves in check for Sunday. Hail, Celts. Thank you very much, Macca. I appreciate that. Rod McLennan coming in as well. Great show, lads. Rod from Brecon. Thank you, Rod. Top man. Early prediction from James Meisen, Peden. 4-0 Celtic. He's saying, Joe, there you go. Welsh Paul, 5-0, Joe. There you go. And
I mean, listen, I would more than happy to take that. But
can't wait for Sundays. Our stepdad's a Rangers fan, so loads of fun there. Indeed, it will be. And Scotland the Brave coming in saying, Tony, do Celtic target down the usual left-hand side towards Tavernier or try Kuhn against Yefte? Seen the new lad for Rangers and he can't really defend. What's your thoughts? We were talking about that. There's another show coming out that we did exclusively in the MPH showroom in Dunfermline and Fife, and that'll be coming out tomorrow. And we speak about those very things. Scotland the Brave, we were talking about Kuhn has to attack Yefte and Maida has to do his normal job on Tavernier, and that's where Celtic could get a lot of joy, Joe.
Yes, absolutely. No, I think we spoke about this on the show, which is going out tomorrow, and there's no player like Dyson Maida in these fixtures. It's to attack the game in the way he does, to attack Tavernier in the way he did at Ibrox, not too long ago. He gets a bit of luck, but he deserves it because he's so incessant, he's so committed, he's so a pain in the backside for anyone that he's chasing down. And you again, it feels like a rolling out cliches, but those first 15 minutes, those tone-setting moments, someone like Dyson Maeda can definitely do it. And I think there is an expectation that Tavernier and Dyson Maeda will have that kind of battle, as it were. But I think that Kuhn and Hefty is, it's an unknown entity at this point. Two players who have never come up against each other, and I think that Kuhn is, it's no secret that he's on form, that he really fancies it, that he had a point to prove, that he said it himself, that the first 4 months at Celtic through his dental surgery in December, all the weight loss that he'd had, that he was still finding his feet, and that he wanted the fans to see the real player from the start of the season forward. And we're starting to see that, as you said, the contributions he's had so far, that brilliant performance against Man City in pre-season that he's carried into competitive football when it does matter. Assuming that he's fully fit. I know that he was hadn't trained a lot last week and things like that, but if he is in the team and starting, that battle with Hefty will be interesting. And even, whether it's a battle or not to put too much pressure on the one-on-ones, I'm just looking forward to seeing Kuhn hopefully getting out there and enjoying himself with the ball at his feet, doing what he's been doing so far against, as you say, what's the kind of toughest opposition he'll have faced so far in a Celtic jersey. And if it goes right for him, I think it could be a real entertaining day for such an entertaining player.
These are the games that cement your status as a Celtic player, Joe. These are the on such games are legends made, and Kuhn needs that kind of breakout performance against Rangers, doesn't he?
Yeah.
In a big game, to sort of say for people to turn up or sit up and say, do you know what? This could be the start of something good. And I feel that that's certainly in Kuhn. Raymond McLean, thank you very much. So you, another new YouTube member, top man, appreciate that. I click the live comments button, so there's 91 comments. I'm trying to do them as quick as I can. Danny Boyd, Doug, see that I wasn't flicking up enough of them. They are coming 10 to the dozen, Danny Boyd. I'm trying my hardest, believe me, and keep control of the buttons and make sure that nothing untoward is being said in the chat. But hope you're enjoying it, guys. We're enjoying your company. Over 2,250 people joined us, 2262. In fact, incredible numbers. Thanks, guys. Really do appreciate it. We genuinely do. We know it's the weekend and it's been a long week, but pleasure to have your company. We hope you're enjoying it so far. We await Hamish. I'm sure he'll be somewhere, Joe, waiting to come in the wings at some point. Hopefully he'll join us. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But hey, that's the beauty of someone being over the other side of the world. Mark Richards asking, did Hamish fall asleep? Don't know. He may well have. And Kirsten Esler saying, will the new guys be playing on Sunday? Brendan Rodgers said today that they might feature, but I wouldn't have thought any of them would start, Joe. But he did say they were up to speed. And
it doesn't feel like, and we spoke about this before as well, like Alistair Johnston, when he announced himself with that fantastic Glasgow Derby performance, and he just came through the door. Moussa Dembele, a number of years ago, came in after Lee Griffiths got injured. Those were very specific circumstances that led these guys to come in and really have to prove themselves. And of course, both players, especially Moussa on that occasion, really proved themselves in a fierce fixture. It doesn't really feel like that with this team. Every position that you're looking at, there's surely an argument to be made that the players that have been playing start. Greg Taylor has had a great start to the season so far. Liam Scales knows the fixture and has had a great start as well. Engels is the only kind of, again, assuming that everything is going in the right direction with 56 minutes as per my clock to go, is maybe the only one that you could see definitely making a case to be involved. But I don't think that'll be from the start either. I think that we'll probably go with the team that played at the weekend, possibly with Kyogo leading the line as opposed to Adamida. But I suppose it's and Kuhn as well. Sorry, Kuhn for James Forrest. Assuming that he's fit as well. So plot spoiler for starting 11s. Sorry about that.
Mr. Haggard starting 11, but we shall see. But listen, guys, keep your comments coming in. It's absolutely brilliant. Trying. Martin Davey, Tony, your son, man, mate. Thanks very much. Appreciate that. John McGunchy, absolutely loving it. Thank you. Cheers, guys. Really appreciate that. James Pearson, Celtic closing in on McCowan confirmed in Sky last night.
Anthony Joseph talking about that just now as well.
Yeah, so we're not in front of big TV screens. Well, I'm certainly not. I don't know if Joe's in front of the TV screen in his house, but just sort of get that confirmed on the phone as well. So that seems to be, it's kind of, it's not a secret, Joe, is it? It's an open secret that Celtic were always monitoring Luke McCowan and see what's happened. Steve McGrory saying Luke on his way to paradise. Regular commenter, Steve McGrory, and a good friend of mine as well. So how you doing, Steve? Hope you're well, fella. I'm sure Steve will be on his way to paradise on Sunday, I believe. He follows Celtic and comes up on a bus from Sunderland, no less, Joe. So Steve's
that's dedication. That's dedication
without a doubt. So, and he's always a regular contributor on here, and his thoughts on football he's wise counsel with Steve. Let's put it that way. I shall say that about him. Has a water left yet? Says Wads of Cash, aka Gordon Coney. Not yet, not to our knowledge. Yep. And Tim on, I mentioned nice message from Matt O'Reilly to the club. I thought that was a wonderful touch from Matt O'Reilly. I think everybody was so disappointed, and so lots of people are possibly upset as well. And my dad made a great point, Joe. He said to me, Scottish football is so often mocked by the English as being a farmers' league. Mm-hmm. Yet Matt O'Reilly, 7 minutes into his Brighton debut, has been the victim of the most agricultural challenge you'll see this season.
Yep.
And and I thought it was a great point, that from a player from Crawley Town, and so we get accused of being, the farmers' league. Yet the guy played 3 seasons and was hardly injured. Goes down to England 7 minutes in and gets crocked with an absolute shocker. And as I said earlier, we wish him every health in his rehabilitation. Hope he's back on the pitch doing what he does best very soon, Joe. So
I think it's one of those ones, like whenever someone leaves Celtic, you generally wish them well, don't you? And when someone's contributed so much, and quite an unassuming guy as well, like not that any player ever deserves any injury on the pitch, but if you've got a kind of incendiary character that away fans dislike or whatever, there's you can never condone someone being pleased with someone getting injured. But Matt O'Reilly, regardless of that, Matt O'Reilly just wasn't that, was he? He just seemed like a really unassuming, nice guy, just wanting to go and play football. And when players leave and they get injured, and it's unfortunate if it's a more organic injury, if it's a muscle tear or ligaments or whatever, then that's one thing. But the nature of the challenge was, I watched it once and I didn't want to watch it again. And I know that an apology was issued in the aftermath, but the player, the captain as well, he was kind of winking and things like that on the pitch and whatever, and it just the whole situation was the whole situation wasn't great. And as you say, we hope he is a speedy recovery, because you always do keep tabs on the best guys, don't you? Kieran Tierney when it went away, didn't see too much of Jota because don't see too much of the Saudi league, to be honest. But people like Moussa Dembele in years go by, Odsonne Edouard down in England, Stuart Armstrong, Ryan Christie, Chris Ayer. You follow these guys because of the affinity that they once had with Celtic, and it's just a real shame that if it had been a year into his career, then it'd be a shame. But for it to happen where he still needs to prove himself, when they've put such an investment in him as a player and obviously financially as well, he'd be absolutely beside himself in terms of wanting to get down there and get to business, and then now he's got to sit in the sidelines and recover, which is never a good thing. Yeah,
indeed. Comments coming in at plenty, Joe. Most of them asking, where's Hamish? That's a slight on me and you, Joe. Big Dom. Tony, what on earth will we talk about for the next 3 months after the window shuts? The same thing that we talk about every day, Big Dom. The leather belts. It never stops, does it? You always talk about them. You always find something to talk about. Tim and on, great show, guys, tonight. Thank you very much, Tim and on. Appreciate that. Steve McFarlane, fantastic show always. That's really, really kind. Thank you, guys. As I say, an hour and 10 minutes we've been going for, Joe. Feels like 5 minutes. Maybe it has been an hour and 10 minutes for lots of people. Great signing, McCowan, says Ronald Forsyth. And R30 coming in saying McCowan will do a job and can build on where he is. O'Reilly, while younger, didn't blow anyone away immediately, but he left a different player. Need to give McCowan the same chance. Need to give every Celtic player the same chance. I hear this, and I mentioned it briefly this morning, this phrase, and then, again, it's one that I can't understand, Joe. Players are not Celtic class. Don't know what that means. Until you pull that strip on and they go out there and perform, then you make up your own mind. But this prejudgment of any player coming into your club, they're not Celtic class. I can't get my head around that. I don't know what it means. I need to be sat down and told what that means because, again, I see I'm very, very black and white with my football and maybe one-dimensional, but I can't get my head around that phrase that X player is not Celtic class. I think any player that plays for Celtic has achieved something that you and I and millions of others would love to do. And
I'm only 38. I've still got time. I might still have a chance yet, Tony.
And I'm still very wary of being disrespectful to footballers.
Yeah, I think it shows I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I think that it shows a lack of appreciation of how much Brendan Rodgers can contribute in that equation. You know, he's a real man manager, as we've seen so many times over the years. So if there's a player you're unsure of, you maybe think Celtic have overspent or we should have spent, you know, the money elsewhere. I totally get that. But I would always say that someone like Brendan Rodgers, and indeed someone like Ange Postecoglou and managers in the past who can put an arm around these players, make them appreciate what Celtic means, and that applies to people like Callum McGregor as well. You know, these players that have been about for a long time, but especially the manager, the difference is, I mean, really, Matt O'Reilly's best season, without a shadow of a doubt, was last season. And the manager and Matt himself said that coming into the start of last season, Brendan Rodgers had said to him, you know, you're doing some brilliant things, but you need to up your numbers. You need to up your goals, your assists, your goal contributions. Exactly. And then all of a sudden, look at his contribution last year. Yeah. I'm a broken record with this, but when I worked at, in the media team at Celtic, I had the honour and the privilege to write James Forrest's book with him. And of course, we're pouring over the stats they're there for everyone to see, but we were doing it as we were writing the book. And James's best seasons was when Patrick Roberts was breathing down his neck for that place. I mean, Brendan Rodgers came in and said the exact same thing, 7-8 years ago? You know, you're a great player, you're doing this, and, you know, we want to keep you here, but your numbers need to be better. And all of a sudden, James Forrest is hitting 16 goals and 17 assists, and 17 goals and 16 assists for 2016, 2017, and 18 as well. So, yeah, I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Celtic class, I'm not sure that, like you, I'm not sure that I buy that. But if you do, give them a chance working under a manager that clearly wants the player in the first place and clearly sees something in the player that can grow them and develop them and, you know, up those numbers. And if it doesn't work out, you know, I'm sure that the manager will be the first person to identify that before we do, which is always the case. So I'd have faith. So I just wanted to say, Tony, I was just looking on Twitter there, just keeping an eye on what's happening. And Anthony Joseph has retweeted something from Austin Trusty. Just double checking that it's definitely the player's account before I read this out. But no, it's quite a heartwarming message. He just says, thank you to Sheffield United for giving me the opportunity to fulfil a boyhood dream of playing in the Premier League. I'm incredibly grateful for my time at the club. Thank you to all my teammates and everyone at the organisation for making me feel welcome during my time. So a nice message as he's departing, and I don't want to get too, you know, flowery and romantic about it, but I always like when you see that level of compassion and emotional intelligence in a player when they're signed up at Celtic, that, you know, they need to prove themselves on the pitch, but if they fit the profile of what we perceive to be a Celtic player, then that's always welcome as well, isn't it?
I think it's manners as well, you know. You're respectful to the club that helps you get a move that could change your life or could be life-changing for you. And I've said before, you know, going back to Matt O'Reilly was an epitome of everything that was wonderful about Celtic Football Club, because he represented your club in the way you wanted on the field as a player, and he represented your club the way you wanted off the field as a player. And he'll be, again, like Joe Hart, they'll be the best non-paid executive ambassadors for your club moving forward. They will speak so highly about Celtic to everybody and anybody, and they will have all sorts of media outlets and social media channels to do that. And it reflects well on, you know, Celtic as a football club. It helps you in your attempt to sign players, especially young players, young, hungry players like Enkles, who to all accounts and intents and purposes, wanted to move to Celtic as soon as they heard of their interest. And I made the point this morning that these things, since he signed for Celtic, hopefully he's become a Belgian internationalist. And, it's not detrimental to some people that, going back to that Farmers League analogy and playing in Scottish football, it's detrimental to your international chances. No, it's not. It's beneficial to it. As someone said to me, but you pointed out the worst 3 examples, Tony. You spoke about Matt O'Reilly and Kyogo. And but I meant people would highlight that and saying that these guys didn't play. Yeah. There he is. There's the man. Hello, sir. How are you? Ladies and gentlemen, live from the bar, Hamish Carton. That's how they used to introduce Dean Martin, by the way. Ladies and gentlemen, live from the bar, and he's in Las Vegas when he had the residency there. So I don't know if you're live from the bar, Hamish. I wouldn't have thought so because you're a non-drinker.
No, I wish. It's quarter past 7 in the morning here, so you have no idea the effort I have had. It looks quite haphazard behind me. I've had to sort a few various things out at this time in the morning, not to wake people up, etc. But we're here. Have Celtic signed any players in the last 15 minutes? That's what I want to know.
Luke McCowan, we believe, is on his way, Hamish. Sky footage of him on his way to paradise, as people are saying in the chat. And we still await Encles being officially unveiled and announced by Celtic, but we believe the medical's being passed and it's in the post, as they say. But apart from that, as you were, and you can take it from here, sir.
Okay, appreciate that. I don't know if I feel ready for this. Yeah, we've what have we got? Is it
45 minutes?
Is it 11 it closes?
11, yeah, 11.
Yeah. Plenty of time, which I've been saying since the start.
So we're looking at Arne Engels then, which is going to be a pretty major signing, and I'm absolutely buzzing about that. I think it's just such a big signing. That's going to be Luke McCowan. What are you two saying about Luke McCowan then? Because that's likely to be a more divisive one, I guess. Given that it's a player from Dundee.
Very much so, Hamish. But we were saying that he has to be given a chance. People forming early judgments of him, but what I've seen of Luke McCowan, I've really, really liked. And if he's ticking a homegrown quota box for your Champions League squad, great. But I think this boy will be somebody who will flourish under Brendan Rodgers. I really do, because he's got a bit of ability. He's a standout in that Dundee team, and Tony Docherty has worked wonders with that Dundee team, finishing top 6. And a big reason for that finish has been the performances of Luke McCowan. So I'm looking forward to seeing the young man. He's going to be given a stage and a platform. Brendan Rodgers' 40s improving players, isn't it? And you will get better just working with the calibre of player that he'll work with at Celtic Park. So again, I will wait to see what he brings to the party. But I'm excited about that as well, I have to say.
What kind of role does he play then going forward? I mean, does he... Had it put to me the other day that it could almost be like a David Turnbull type role. He's an attacking
midfielder. He's got a good dig and he scores goals, and he likes to roam forward and get in about it. So you can't get enough good players in your team, Hamish. He's going to have to force his way into that team, but I don't think it's beyond him to do that at some point this season, because he will be given a chance, and I think he'll shine.
Before you came on, Hamish, we were saying about the scope for Brendan Rodgers, his man management, and the way that he can put his arm around players and develop them, and everything that he said in his first time here and his second time here as well. And that kind of player seems like someone that comes in and not automatic first pick, but a player like I don't know, a Stuart Armstrong or something like that comes to mind, a player that wasn't necessarily in his plans when he first came in, but rose to the challenge, did what he was asking of him on the training pitch, and then forced his way into the team. Was still quite sporadic in his appearances. He was never an out-and-out starter, but when he came in, he had a massive impact. So, not a direct comparison there, but that's kind of where I see him in the next couple of years, assuming that he does come in the next 41 minutes. But I think that the manager clearly fancies him, and if that's as good a springboard to take his career if he comes through the door here for me.
That's an endorsement for me. We were talking earlier, Hamish, that the manager's paw prints have been all over this transfer window. He's got the players in that he's wanted, and he's clearly wanted Luke McCowan as well. So he sees something in him that he can, sprinkle that magic dust on him and turn him into a better player. So I'm not going to argue with that until that's been proven wrong or right, as the case may be. So we shall see.
Yeah, we've had so many players over the years that have come from lesser top flight clubs and done really well for us. It doesn't happen as often these days, probably because the lure of English football and maybe Italian football for these young Scottish players is much greater than it was back then. But I've always been an advocate of Celtic signing the best players from Scottish teams. And I mean, potentially McCowan's not quite at the kind of level potential-wise of someone like Lennon Miller, maybe. I think he's been spoken about more, it's fair to say. But as we say, Rodgers clearly wanted two midfielders in because he feels we need the numbers. Maybe, I don't know if Iwata's moved on yet. There's been discussions about him, I think, going to Birmingham City. I personally don't think Rodgers particularly fancies Odin Thiago home, if I'm honest. Yep. And I would much rather Brendan Rodgers has players that he fancies in at the club. And that's the one thing I would say about McCowan. We know the whole homegrown thing, but I hope he's coming in to offer Celtic something. I hope he's not just coming in to just kind of like tick a box and all of that kind of stuff. Like, I want him to come in, and I think, we'd all admit, and Luke McCowan himself would probably admit, he's not necessarily improving the Celtic first team. But there's a value to these players. I mean, Rodgers' first spell at the club, Johnny Hayes came in, I would say is a relatively similar signing, not one we're particularly excited about. And Johnny Hayes wasn't a tremendous, terrific Celtic player that we're going to talk about for years to come. But he ended up, being quite an important player for us at times in certain matches and really, offering everything to the club. And I think McCowan will be the same. From what I've seen of him, he's a guy who will give his all. I think he's a big Celtic fan as well, which always helps. So I'm not saying I'm as excited about it as I would have been maybe someone like Alvin Sanchez or Matthias Boguts, but he never write a player off before they come to Celtic, because you never know what you're going to get from someone like Luke McCowan. It's his dream to play for Celtic, I would say.
I still watch Johnny Hayes and scream at him for missing that one at Ibrox originally before he stuck in the rebound.
Made it better.
It's one of those moments that I thought he'd made an absolute cod of it, the chance to wrap up the game and shouting and screaming and going wild. But listen, you can't write off anybody. The manager wants him for a reason. Let's give the boy a chance, I think that's the way you approach this. Enkles, I think's got everybody excited. Myself and Joe have been talking about it. And there's Ryan in the chat. There he is. Hey guys, hope the stream's going well. Indeed, hope your concert went well, young man. Blink 182 famous. Unbelievable scenes at the lakeside. You know what I mean? The chandeliers have been shaken all night at the thought of the wee man being at Blink 182. I can't get my head around that. But
did you not realise it was transfer deadline day, nah?
Maybe I'm just an old guy for Hamish, you know what I mean? but there you go. Hope you had a good time, young man. Take it easy.
Yeah. Paul was just asking, Joe, I'll throw this one to you. McGowan could play in cup games, good squad player, but where does that leave home if he signs?
It's a good question, and not long before you came on, Hamish, I was making the point of, one thing which is always associated with Celtic is strength and depth. That they have this pool of resources and they've got these big squads, but there's an obvious difference between strength and depth and just having too many players, just making up the numbers. And I don't know what it means. The longer time goes on and the more, or maybe the less you see of Odin Thiago home, I'm not sure that it's a Brendan Rodgers player. And I'm not even really, from speaking personally, I'm not even really sure why I think that, but there's that feeling about it. I've certainly not seen enough from the player himself to think that he is someone that can reliably do a job at Celtic. That doesn't mean that he can't. I'm just not sure of him. And McCowan, again, is someone that, like we said, the manager has identified and clearly wants. So I don't know if that's more going in the young man's favour. But yeah, I just to kind of go back to your point and comparison with Johnny Hayes, I think that's kind of the role that I see McCowan playing as well. Anytime that I spoke to Johnny when I played at Celtic, when I was on club media, and I'm sure I've said this before on the Morning Briefing podcast before, but Johnny Hayes was a firm believer in his role as a professional football player, not as a Celtic first team player. And he would always say it like he wants to be ready whenever called upon. That goal against Rangers at Ibrox, first or second time, was still him being called upon, that busting a gut to get himself up that end of the pitch to celebrate with the Celtic fans up there. But yeah, that he saw that as his role to be, when he's not in the team, he's pushing the players behind the scenes. And much like James Forrest did it all season last year and then breaks into the team in January and then has that remarkable run and has kept his place by and large in the team. He's only ever one man away from a starting position place. Again, McCowan's young, but I think that he'll see that as well. If someone can come in and improve the squad, then I'm more than happy with that. So,
yeah. I think he might surprise us in terms of what he can offer the team. 26 years old, is that what someone was just saying there? Sorry, I just missed the comment. Mantis saying 26 and from Greenock, so in real terms he's about 46. No offence to any people from Greenock watching. I don't know if you guys have covered this, but do you think the squad is stronger or will be stronger at the end of the window than when we went into it? Because that's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, we were talking earlier and we feel that it is stronger. There are lots of people saying that we've lost our best player and our strongest player, but the manager's got what he wanted. He wanted a left back, he wanted a left-sided centre-back, he wanted two midfielders, he wanted Adam Ida. He's got all of the above, hasn't he? So they'll not let the manager down in terms of spending cash and bringing in players. Would he have wanted more? Arguably, yeah, but these were positions that he said himself needed strengthening. He never put a number on it because he didn't want people to come to him and say, you said 5 players and you only got X amount. But he told us, and everybody was, everybody could see the positions that needed strengthened. So they've strengthened in those positions. Time will tell if they're stronger, but it's an easy get out to say, we're not stronger. The manager believes they're stronger. He said today, if they get all the players in, they'll be in a really good place. And he's been quick to remind everybody that the players that he's been working with before those ones have come in, he's been really happy with them, the way they've played, the way they've approached it, and the way they've took on the mantle of his style of play since pre-season, or arguably since the tail end of last season, the way they've gone about their business. So for me, the squad is definitely stronger. I'm speaking personally for myself. I think the squad is stronger, and I'll be guided by the manager on that, who thinks the same thing. Time will tell, won't it?
Yeah, I guess, we always look at the squad and you look player for player, are we stronger? But that's not strictly how it works. It's like, is the team stronger when they're on the pitch than they were before? And the team for me is clearly in a better place than we were, at the end of last season, in terms of like there's progression on players there that on paper you'd look at being the same people, but they look a whole lot better this season. Nicholas Kuhn, the obvious example. When you look at the player for player stuff, Adam Ida and Paulo Bernardo have come in. They weren't our players at the start of the window. I know some people say standing still, etc., but that's the case. The goalkeeper situation, Kasper Schmeichel versus Joe Hart, I would say is pretty similar. If anything, maybe people are slightly more excited about Schmeichel.
I'll flick this graphic up. Ryan did it earlier, and I meant to put it up earlier, but that's kind of where we're at the minute. So you can see in terms of the squad where we're stronger. The ones in green are obviously the ones that have come in, yeah. So there's your squad there. So he said, he didn't put Iwata in because he felt that Iwata could be heading to Birmingham. Nawrocki's still there, but obviously he could leave too. But nothing of note with that. But there's your squad there. So and then we put a question mark against McCowan. That's obviously going to happen now. So there's your squad depth there. It's looking strong enough to me.
Steve, we raised this earlier, Hamish. I'd seen that. I've noticed quite a lot of people saying it was kind of getting through the window again, assuming Engels and McCowan are done deals, and we're going to hear about that in the next 30 minutes. But a lot of people saying that it's the bare minimum. We had some comments in the chat over the course, and of course, everyone entitled to their opinion, but the bare minimum still implies that it's enough, but it's the minimum. I don't know. How do you feel? Do you kind of subscribe to that, or do you think we're stronger over the course?
Yeah, I mean, so much of it depends on how these new signings are.
Yeah.
Do you trust Trusty? That's the big question. When you hear things about him, generally, I would say, judging from what people have said here and maybe a few things you've seen online, you're not quite sure if Trusty's going to be like a Carter Vickers level player. But then again, when we signed Cameron Carter Vickers, I dare say there would have been a lot of Tottenham Hotspur fans that wouldn't have said glowing. It wouldn't have given him a glowing reference. So I'm prepared to see how he gets on. Rodgers seems to really like him. We've spent good money on him, so that's a statement of intent there at the back. Valle, again, I'm just unsure of him. I mean, it's exciting signing a player from Barcelona. He's just not played a lot of football over his career so far. So that one is we'll wait and see how that goes. Obviously, Engels, I think, has been a great signing. I think Bernardo proved to be brilliant. Ida, I don't even need to say anything about Ida. Made that clear over the summer. And McCowan's maybe an extra player in there, because Steve was just talking about the fact that Riley, Kelly, Lawal, Iwata and Kwon have all moved on. I don't know how many of them we necessarily would have seen this season. I mean, Kwon, Lawal and Kelly, maybe Kelly we would have seen a bit, but certainly Kwon and Lawal I don't think we were ever really going to see, based on what Brendan Rodgers thought from pre-season. Iwata maybe 15, 20 games, something like that, and he might still stay, we don't know. But I'm kind of pretty content looking around that squad generally. Left wing, I'm still not sure on Lewis Palma. I'd be worried if Maida was to pick up an injury, for example, but I guess you could always put Forrest over there. I know someone was talking about Anthony Ralston at right back as well. I think Ralston does a job there as a backup.
I was making the point, Hamish, it's certainly looking better than it did on Monday.
Yeah.
We had the Monday podcast. So, I go back to, I'm pleased because the manager's got what he wanted. He's asked for these players and he's got what he wanted. So we shall see moving forward. He said he's still delighted with the players that he has and has been working with this season. And now he's added to that with everybody that he targeted. And as I say, his paw prints have been all over this window. So he has to be happy. And, if he's happy, then who are we to dispute that? Until such times when we see these players and what they bring to the table.
Did you guys cover a bid being accepted for Luke McCowan?
Only just seen that just now.
Yeah.
Which,
apparently we're a million plus.
That was the understanding, that Dundee were holding out for $1 million plus. Yeah, because Hibs had been knocked back 800 grand. I think Hibs went as high as. That had been thrown out earlier in the day. And it was always the premise that Celtic were monitoring the situation and we are going to go in, but no bid had officially been lodged. So, but me and Joe said it was a deal that they could do at 11:15, which turns out to be the case, isn't it? Just turn up and say, yes, we'll have him over £1 million. That's fine, done, sorted. Which kind of has materialised. So there you have.
Between now and Sunday, before the game, we've also got the actual. We know who we're playing in the Champions League, but tomorrow they announce the actual fixtures when we'll be playing, which is an unusual situation. I know they sometimes take a rota, like an explainer for anyone interested in the Celtic way today. Apparently, the main drive of it is just to liaise with the authorities of all the member teams to make sure there aren't any clashes. But I guess it's just the teething issues with the new system, because there's normally a little delay, but it's normally on the same night, isn't it? And now that kind of 2-day delay, so quite exciting.
Yeah, it's. I guess they're looking at other teams and other competitions, so that there aren't certain teams at home in the same night. It's going to be interesting. I mean, there's a few interesting things to note. The first match day, people may or may not know this. First match day is across 3 days, so it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we could have a Champions League game on a Thursday night. There's a 1 in 3 chance of that happening, which would be kind of interesting. What's the thinking about the fixtures? Do we just take what we're given? Well, I guess we'll have to. But what would we rather? Would we want a wee home game up first, a chance to get points on the board and build from there?
A home game first, Hamish. Just bed the guys in and just hopefully try and get your campaign off to a flyer. Because I've seen yesterday, none of the home games, the opponents frighten me, per se. And I think you can go in and have a right rip at that. And I'm not saying they're all winnable games, because European football, especially elite level European football, doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
But if I want to see that they've learned from last season, that they can turn those draws against Atletico Madrid and those last-minute losses against Lazio into wins. And I think you look at the calibre of opposition, they don't strike fear and terror into your hearts, and you think, let's set about them. Let's really do what the manager says and compete, not participate, compete, and show what you learned last season at that level and apply it this season and go and get those wins that you desperately crave. No, a dead rubber win against Feyenoord, a meaningful win. So I'd love a home game to just really try and set us up for the rest of the Champions League phase.
Yeah, the first game's the 17th, isn't it? 17th, 18th, 19th. That's the first allocation. So, I mean, I'm the same. I think a home game, and I think that, listen, I'd love this fine vein of form that we're in to extend till the end of the season and beyond. But there is a chance. There's always a chance that there's a dip at some point. We are flying high at the moment, so to have that first game, let's talk hypotheticals. There's a victory on Sunday. There's then the international break. There is fixtures on the weekend of the 14th, I think, league fixtures. So there's not too many games in between, and then you roll into that home game in the Champions League with that form, with the crowd right behind you, with the players playing well on the pitch. Yeah, it feels like that's kind of tailor-made for the typical rocking Celtic Park under the lights, etc. Like in this next stretch of games.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting this year because the 4 matches we've got at Celtic Park aren't particularly glamorous in comparison to what we've had in previous years. So we've got our big team, our RB Leipzig, who, with all due respect, fantastic team, going to be a hell of a tough ask to get anything for that game because they're a great side. They're not a particularly glamorous club, for example, and we've played them a couple of years ago. And then you look at the other 3 games we've got with Slovan Bratislava, Young Boys, and who's the third? Is it Club Brugge, the third one? So, I mean, there's a great opportunity for us to get points, certainly in those other 3 matches, like a real opportunity. But the point I'm making, I wonder if that just changes the atmosphere at all. I think there'll be more expectancy at Celtic Park for the 4 champions, or certainly the 3 ones that aren't Leipzig. Whereas, normally at that level, it's us against the world type thing, and everyone's just, right up for it because we're going up against these huge names. But I just wonder if there might be a bit more onus on the team to go and win these games this time. So I think the fans have got an interesting role to play in those matches.
I think there's been an expectancy, Hamish, in the past 10 years, and our record's been absolutely bouncing. But we're still going into every Champions League group thinking we can get points there, and it hasn't materialised whenever we've competed. So
this time, if we don't, though, it'll be
correct. This
a major issue if we don't beat Slovan Bratislava and Young Boys at home. Then,
but then that will show we've learned nothing from competing at this level, repeatedly, and then making the same mistakes. Yep. So Celtic to me are one of those teams that they lose bread and butter goals at this level. The kind of goals you lost in the Scottish Cup semi-final to Aberdeen. just a Balti near post header. Celtic lose those kind of goals, don't they? Lots of teams have come to Celtic Park recently. They haven't had to work hard to score, have they? Let's be honest. So that's been your downfall, and you've conceded too many of those bread and butter goals. So I want this team to learn that it's just unacceptable to perform at that level against any side, because every side's going to feel like Celtic in this Champions League phase. They're going to think we've got a chance to do something here, because it's a group that doesn't contain a real superpower. Taking Dortmund out the equation, I guess, aren't they? They were Champions League runners-up last season. But, even the Battle of Britain against Villa, I still fancy Celtic's chances. Because they've got a great record against English opponents in these kind of matches. And I don't care that it's away. In fact, I fancy them stronger because it's away. I've got to be honest. But it might prove to be dumbfounded by the time we get into this league phase. But I think there is an air of expectancy, because the draw could have been much worse, Hamish, And I think Celtic have to live with that. Those players now have to live with that, because the fans will expect, because it's not, as you say, those big glamour games. There's no Real Madrid, there's no Bayern, there's no Juventus, there's no Man City. So you have a chance now.
Yeah.
In this league phase, to actually do something. Go and grab it. Go and grasp the nettle.
Joe?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. No, I think, when I was up at Lennoxtown on behalf of the Herald a few weeks ago, I'm sure I spoke about this after on the morning briefing, I asked the manager, he was talking about progression in Europe, and I said, what does it look like? What is progression in Europe for Celtic? Just given that it's been pretty barren over the last, that was my insinuation, I think outrightly say it, but over the last, the recent future. The best campaign that I can remember in recent memory was probably Brendan Rodgers' first. The 3 each game against Man City was a game that we probably should have won. And then snatches here and there. Atletico last year, that hour where we hit the post against Real Madrid and then still get beat 3-0 at home. But you know what I mean? It's few and far between. And I asked the manager, is it to impress your brand of football in Europe? Is it those big victories, the Barcelonas, the AC Milans going way back, those against all odds, backs to the wall victories? Or is it, some sort of tangible progression? And he said the playoffs, it has to be. Now, I know he's going to say that. I know that he's not going to turn around and say, yeah, well, we want to win a game here and there. But he was pretty much acknowledging that it's not been good enough. And if ever there was a chance to do that, to have some sort of tangible progression, it surely has to be. It is a favourable draw in the grand scheme of things. It could have been so much worse. I saw a lot of our neighbours across the road, as much as, my interest is squarely on Celtic and European football's flagship competition, but they were talking about the Europa League draw and saying that their draw was arguably more challenging than Celtic's. That Celtic's more reflected a Europa League draw. Whatever, but at the same time, it is a reasonably favourable draw for what we could have got, and therefore, I think Brendan Rodgers is certainly saying it's almost like there's almost not an understanding that Celtic are expected to win the league. I think every time we enter domestic competition, we do expect to win the league. That's what we have as fans, but it's almost like the focus is on Europe this year, which it's not been for. I can't remember the last time this was the case, and to make inroads, there is a chance to do it this year with the new format, with the fact that we spoke before you come on, Hamish, that there still is a fixture in January that we could still be within a chance. And therefore, if this team and the incomings prove themselves, there could be new faces to push that forward in January. It's exciting. It's easy to say, but I don't want to be crestfallen come the end of January and it's not went to plan, and there's every chance that happens. But it does feel like there is something to believe in this year, whereas I don't think there was when we drew against Atletico Madrid, when we drew against Real Madrid. It was kind of like, well, we might do something. We'll probably get a big defeat over there, and that proved to be the case. But this time it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, I think there's a massive opportunity for the team. A few people kind of I don't know, misinterpreted that as me being negative about the fans and the pressure and all that kind of stuff. I think it's a fact that there's going to be a real onus on Celtic to go and win these games. The point I'm making is in the past maybe draws have been acceptable against, in these home matches because we've been against some of the top teams. Like a draw's not going to be acceptable against Slovan Bratislava at home, but I'd much rather have that opportunity than have been in. I mean, did you see Lille's draw? For example, I think it was like Real Madrid and Liverpool and Atletico and Bayern Munich and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm buzzing with the draw. I can't wait for it to get started. And I think, Sunday as well, buzzing for Sunday. If we get a victory on Sunday, it's been a hell of a week, hasn't it? And it'll really send us into the international break feeling good about ourselves. I think we've got a real opportunity here for a wonderful season. I genuinely believe that now. It's kind of mapped out for us now at this stage. Obviously everything's still to be determined, really, but
it's a really good way to put it, the mapped out. Sorry to interrupt you, but that's the phrase I was looking for in terms of what we might do in Europe. Who knows what's ahead, but mapped out was exactly what I'm looking for.
I just think there's a huge opportunity for the team this year, a really good Celtic team to really do something in Europe and also domestically, Tony.
And I think that stems from the last week activity in the transfer market with the manager getting the players in that he wants. That feel-good factor that's coursing through the support, the manager, the players, the team. Hopefully you can kick that on Sunday again with another vital derby win. As you see, you get into that first international break with that spring in your step. You come back, you play Hearts. And then take that momentum and really go in. And that's why I'm hoping for a home game first, Hamish, because there will be that expectancy there. But that's what I want. That's what I want for the Celtic team. I don't want to be, it's the Champions League. Let's just go right through this and be as good as we can be. As the manager keeps saying, be the best representation of ourselves that we can be at every level now, domestically and in the European scene, because every Celtic supporters, that's what they crave, isn't it? Success in that tournament, in that elite level tournament. And we spoke about it before, Hamish. That's what certainly you and I were fixated on this season, success in that competition. And that draw, on the face of it, allows you to dream that wee bit further and think we can be successful. It's no saying it, it's doing it, isn't it? As they say.
That 100%. I've seen a lot of stuff as well since the draw. People saying, as fans, we need to be careful what we're saying. Like, as fans, is it not good to be positive about the team's chances and believe in the team and much rather feel like that rather than looking at it and going, we're hopeless anyway, we've not got a chance. I'd much rather be positive. That's not going to change how the team feel about these games, and the team are going to feel good about it. I think as fans, we carry all this baggage of the last 10 years. The team don't really, to be honest. And Callum McGregor, I think last week when he was doing his press conference, he spoke about the Feyenoord win. He feels that was a really big moment winning that Feyenoord game, and I think that might prove to be the case. We might look back, as much as it was a dead rubber game that a lot of us probably weren't that fussed about at the time, certainly I wasn't, we might look back at that game as being a major moment for this team, and I really hope that's the case. Engels is in Celtic Park, guys. That's been reported, so it's that's obviously going to happen. We get a double announcement, do you think?
Final countdown. What's that?
Double announcement of Engels and McCowan.
Very possibly. Anthony Joseph reporting earlier, 18 minutes ago, right enough, but it says, talking about McCowan, the bid being accepted, the clubs are looking to finalise the deal before the deadline. A deal sheet can be used for an extension if clubs can show that they are at an advanced stage with a transfer, which...
I think that's always been the issue, isn't it? That you can lodge the paper.
We've never, in my recollection, I don't think that it's ever come into play at Celtic at this stage in the transfer deadline. So
there's just another update for Anthony Joseph there in the last minute, saying that I don't know how much of an update this is, to be honest. He says Celtic have agreed a £1 million deal to sign Luke McCowan. He's Dundee captain, didn't realise that. It's understood the 26-year-old midfielder has also verbally agreed terms in a long-term contract. Celtic and McCowan are now finalising paperwork. So it's going to be And Dundee have just signed a midfielder as well, so that's obviously further evidence that McCowan's come. So it's going to be McCowan and Engels.
Yeah.
Everyone. And that's going to be a lot. There's not going to be anything else.
No left field shouts.
Literally, no left wingers.
Yeah. That might disappoint a few, but as Joe says, if they're still in the mix in the Champions League come January, they might revisit that in January and go and strengthen some more.
So just to get it all down, players in, we're looking at Viliami Sinizalo, Kasper Schmeichel, Paulo Bernardo, Adam Ida, Alex Valle, Austin Trusty, Arnie Engels and Luke McCowan. Players out, right, okay. Joe Hart, Sead Haksabanovic, Marco Tellio on loan, Rocco Vata, Hyun-Yu Oh, Ben Siegrist, Bosun Lawal, Kwon has gone out on loan.
Yep.
Daniel Kelly's left the club. Yuki Kobayashi's left permanently. Matt O'Reilly's left permanently. Gustav Lagerbielke loan and Mikey Johnson permanently. I would say we've actually moved on a lot of fringe players there. I mean, Haksabanovic, Tillio, Vata, O, Siegrist, Lawal, Kwon, Kobayashi, Lagerbielke, Johnston. That's like a lot of good work there.
We've trimmed the fat from the squad, haven't we? Remember the manager used the word bloated, and then he said he wanted to work with, I think he said about 21, 22, didn't he? Something like round about that figure, I don't know.
Okay.
He wanted a tight 21, 22 or however many. He was in the 20s anyway that he said, where he wanted it to be strong. So he's kept good in his word on that. And you think that squad that flicked up earlier, most of them are going to contribute first team wise, aren't they? Most of them. Not all. And then you've got guys coming in who are going to have major contributions to make. So, yeah, I agree, Hamish. We've managed to trim that squad and get rid of, a lot of fringe players there who just weren't going to get any game time at the club. So, for that alone, I'm happy with the window, but I'm certainly happy with the...
Oh, it's about to be announced. They've said, and Joe will be a fan of all this kind of patter from his time at the club, time for a deadline day, unique angle. See what they did there, everyone? Unique angle, genius.
A unique angle, was it? Oh, excellent. There you go.
Hamish, have you caught up with the Stone Cold Steve Austin review yet for...
No.
Austin Trusty? No, you should
I've
go back
not,
and watch.
no,
Once we go off air, yeah, so they've been on form.
Who comes up with that kind of stuff? Is it just someone in the media department? They're given a bit of license to go for a bit of power?
Yeah. I'm still friendly with the boys in the social media team. I say they work tirelessly. Yeah. I think they do a fantastic job, and I know that the two boys that are working round the clock there are WWF fans, and they would have been all over it.
Right, Arnie Engels has joined Celtic. We're delighted to confirm the signing of highly rated Belgian midfielder Arnie Engels on a 4-year deal subject to international clearance. I'll go through some quotes now because they will no doubt be down here. Brendan Rodgers, we are delighted to bring Arnie to Celtic. He is an exciting young player of real quality who has already made his mark at a really high level in the Bundesliga. He has a wide range of attributes which will allow him to play a number of positions in midfield, so we feel he is an excellent acquisition for the club. I think Arnie's style of play, his energy and his technical ability really will suit our game model. While Celtic will always be our priority, it's fantastic too that Arnie is now receiving full international recognition within a top Belgian squad, something he is very deserving of. Record transfer, no mention of record transfers. I guess that's not the kind of thing the club would probably say officially. It's well known. Fabulous. Arnie Engels, Celtic player. So excited. Buzzing.
Yep.
Bring it on. Bring Sunday Camp can quick enough. And also look at the number who are joining us live, Hamish. Incredible numbers.
The Engels effect.
Yeah, correct. The Hamish effect, one of the two. 3,351 people, Hamish, live with us. Myself, Joe, and yourself on a Friday night, 5 to 11. Unbelievable numbers. Thank you, guys. Really, really do appreciate it. It's very humbling to say the least.
Amazing. Quick question, Joe. Does Engels start on Sunday?
Well, we were kind of throwing this back and forth earlier on. I was using the examples of Alistair Johnson and Moussa Dembele, using the Glasgow Derby as a kind of proven ground, but those were exceptional circumstances. The only player that I thought possibly could is Engels.
He's been playing up until last weekend.
Yeah. So I don't mean the new bodies. Obviously, we've already seen Bernardo and Adamida. I'm not sure. At the start of the conversation, at the start of the pod, I said no. And now I'm thinking, I don't know if it's just because I've been working since on and off since 7 this morning and I'm quite tired and excited, but who knows? I don't know. I'm not going to answer the question. Speak to me on Sunday. He could feature. I mean, the perfect scenario is that he doesn't start hypothetically, and Celtic are in such a comfortable position over the course of 90 minutes where he gets to have a rapturous reception off the bench or something like that, isn't it? That's probably the fairy tale. And I know my peers in the social media team would love that in terms of spinning out some posts, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I would put him in from the start. He's been playing up until recently, and I sometimes think, see, when you're making your debut as the most, especially as the most expensive player in our history, it's sometimes good just to get it on and get it in a big game. Let's just do this. Let's not beat around the bush with Arnie Engels. He's been playing up until recently. He's just been called up for Belgium. He's going to be feeling good. And sometimes, like we saw with Alistair Johnson, sometimes if you just go into these games, you kind of don't know what you're going into. You don't have the baggage of maybe the fixture. You know it's a big game, but you kind of just go into it and do your stuff, and I think he'd be great. The question is he a better option than Bernardo for Sunday? That's the big question. I'm quite relaxed about it because Bernardo was great last weekend, Tony. Bernardo's done well in this fixture at Celtic Park. Yeah. So I'm happy with either. I just think just make a statement, get him in that team.
I've got to be honest, I think you would be more concerned if Bernardo hadn't featured in this game at all. You'd be inclined to throw in Engels straight in. But Bernardo's biggest moments of the season came against Rangers last season. He knows the fixture. I'm inclined to start with Bernardo and bring on Engels and let him get his rapturous reception after the hour mark. Just my own thoughts, but I'm perfectly happy if the manager wants to start Engels because he clearly thinks highly enough of the shell out £11 million for him. But you look at Bernardo, he was terrific last week. He scored in a derby match at the very venue you're playing at. He had a massive contribution at Ibrox for Ida's goal in the 3 each game with that wonderful slide rule pass, which is not talked about enough, in my opinion. And then he's ran 40 yards at Hampden and slammed the ball towards a goalkeeper who couldn't deal with what looked like a routine shot, but it clearly wasn't because it took a vicious swerve, and Adam Ida's profited from. So because he's packed that experience in such a short space of time of being at the club, he knows that fixture, so he knows what's expected. So I'm just wary of throwing guys in straight away that, because it can largely pass them by. But I would want Engels to play some part in it, maybe half an hour, as Joe said, if you're comfortable enough in the game, which you're hoping Celtic will be, to introduce him to it and say, this is what this is about. You're playing in front of these guys, and here's a wee taster of what to expect. But either way, I'm happy because I quite like. I trust Bernardo, and if the manager trusts Engels and makes that big call, you have to trust that as well.
I feel like the more I think about it, I feel like he probably won't start him. Could be wrong. I would personally start him. I don't know. I feel with Brendan Rodgers, he tends to kind of take his time with things, and you wonder. It would. But is it a blow to Bernardo, given how well he played last week, if you don't start him? So I think Rodgers will think about that kind of thing. I feel it will probably be Bernardo, Hatate, and McGregor in that midfield, but we'll wait and see. Does Trusty start on Sunday? For me, no. But
for me, no.
Yeah. No, because arguably your best central defender this season has been Liam Scales from the start of the season, and I think I'm a yellow jersey man. I spoke about that before. Yep. So he's in possession just now, and he's been better than Cameron Carter-Vickers. Yet your heart skipped a beat when you heard Cameron Carter-Vickers wasn't at training this morning. Just like, Joe gave me a heart attack in the group chat. Yeah.
I know. I knew the manager would address the absence of Cameron Carter-Vickers at Lennoxtown training this morning, Hamish. So I had a story prepped and was dropping in the quotes, and I misspoke in the group chat and said, I'll grab Brendan Rodgers speaking on Cameron Carter-Vickers' injury. What I just meant was absence. And Tony went, he's injured. And it went there. I didn't mean to give you a fright, Tony. But,
no, but there you go. But ticking down 30 seconds, I don't imagine there'll be any left field shots now. You know what I mean? But hey, there it is. Yeah. But nah. Thanks
so it'll be Luke McCowan by the looks of things. We'll get Luke McCowan in, and obviously that'll be a lot. We'll wait and see about Iwata. I would assume Iwata's staying, but I've certainly not seen any. And it was Birmingham City, wasn't it? It
was Birmingham. Are supposed to be having a medical with you, but again, there's that you can lodge paperwork, can't you? If you've gone through the machinations and tell them that you're intending to sign.
Doesn't seem to be anything.
Just trying to catch up just now, but nah.
Someone's saying we've spent 17 million pounds alone today, which is I feel like every kind of record is being broken at the moment in terms of biggest sale, but O'Reilly biggest buy with Engels. But this has to happen. This is what we want as fans. A bit of ambition shown. Listen, it's when the dust settles in this, I still think there's so much the club need to improve. It's unacceptable to me that we shouldn't be doing this video, guys. We should not be here on deadline day. We should have our feet up. The business should have been done prior to deadline day, and the club need to work on that going forward. To be fair to them, I think they managed to salvage this, and it probably turns out a decent to good window. You can give me your final thoughts then, guys, and we'll head off.
I think it's been a good window, Hamish. And I think everything's right now for everybody just to come together on Sunday and make it a memorable occasion. Let's put it that way. And you know what Celtic fans are like on these occasions. That arena, just the atmosphere, the build up to it, it'll be terrific, and it could be one for the ages, hopefully.
Yeah, Joe? I think the same. I think I was saying that against the context of there's been so much on in terms of transfer deadline, build up, the draw on Thursday, today getting a lot of business done. It's been pretty breathtaking. We've got tomorrow to find out the fixtures when the games actually are for the Champions League, and then of course we've got the derby. So the dust probably won't settle on this deadline until maybe midweek next week, once we've watched the highlights, assuming all goes to plan on Sunday. But I think it's been a good one. I got everything that I wanted in terms of the positions that I think that we needed reinforcements at the very least in, and the manager has got what we wanted. I said that Engels was probably, I hope that he turns out to be a fantastic player, but also a statement signing as well. Like Brendan Rodgers got the man, you said this yourself, got the man he wanted, and we appear to have pushed the boat out past the record signing as well. So there's so much tied in with that. The manager can go onto the touchline a happy man on Sunday, you would have to assume, and hopefully that kind of infiltrates into the team and gives the fans something to celebrate as well. So
and bring on Sunday. What a big game! What an opportunity for the team to get the feel good factor continue.
What time is it that you're in for the game on Sunday, Hamish?
9:30, I think.
That's not too bad.
Ideal time. Yeah. Can't complain. Be having a few beverages during the day and calming the nerves a little bit. No, I can't complain at all about that. Buzzing for it. Hopefully the team are up for it and just start with that tempo and go 5 points clear of our rivals. Will we head off, guys?
Yeah.
It's been a long stint for you guys.
It's very early for you, but appreciate you coming on. Enjoyed that. All right, Joe, that was a quickest 2 hours of your life when you thought that we'd struggle to speak.
Thank you for everyone tuning in.
And thank you to the 3,500 people that joined us for the past 2 hours. Can't do it without you. Brilliant, unbelievable. Really humbled by that number. It's turning out to watch the three of us talk down through the transfer deadline day. So really, really appreciate it. And just one more shout out for the strapline running along the bottom. You can help support our work more by joining the YouTube members channel for just $2.99 a month. and you'll receive early video access, priority comments, and exclusive members chat function on that. And also thank you for your subscription. And if you want to subscribe, you know what to do. You know what to go. Hit that button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. I'm sure you will.
Yeah, let's hope so. Perfect, guys. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Well over 3,000 of you, huge numbers, much appreciated. Give us a wee sub as well. I will say that if you've not done it yet, it'd be much appreciated. If we got all of you over, that would add nearly 3,000 on our total, guys. I worked that out all by myself very early here. Right, I'm going to head. We're all going to head. We'll catch up with you soon, everyone. Bye.